All right, folks, I'm sitting here in a Google Plus Hangout with Mr. Peter Reed Miller. He's a Sports Illustrated photographer. This is one of the people that if you have any kind of interest in shooting sports in any way, shape, or form, you want to be listening to this particular interview and or checking out his book that I just got. Look at this. It's Peter Reed Miller on sports photography. He shoots for Sports Illustrated, which is probably why he has such heavy gravity in the sports photography universe. But Peter and I are going to talk about, obviously, sports photography, but we're going to dive a little deeper and talk about, of course, gear. You know, this is one of the well, many areas, but one of the more succinct areas in photography where the gear is critical. So we're going to talk about his gear choices and recommendations, and we're also going to talk about what it's like to be a Sports Illustrated photographer, maybe some swimsuit stuff. I don't know. We may try to get that in there, get that out of him. And more importantly, how you can use some of these professional Sports Illustrated type techniques to shoot your family and friends or photograph them, you know, your kids on the football field or baseball diamond or whatever. So Peter Reed Miller, welcome to This Week in Photo.
Hey, thanks for having me, Frederick.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. So let's start off with the book. So Peter Reed Miller on sports photography. The subtitle is A Sports Illustrated Photographer's Tips, Tricks, and Tales on Shooting Football, the Olympics, and Portraits of Athletes. How did this book come about? Was it just a long time coming? Was it, you know, Peach or Pearson came at you and said, hey, we need sports photography. Can you do it? How did it go?
Yeah, originally TWiP from Pearson approached me at I think it was a WPPI show or one of the shows and said, look, we'd love to have you do a book. Could you do like 280 pages of tips on sports photography? And I said, no, no way. But then he kind of came back at me and he said, look, you do a talk at these shows, like I talk on the Canon stage or I'll speak for Western Digital. He said, why not base the book on the talk? And at the time, that sounded like just the easiest thing in the world. Oh, it's all written, all the pictures are selected, but a book is not a talk.
Ted and his Jedi mind trick, right?
Yeah. So it was quite, you know, in the talk, I talk about the things I really enjoy. So I enjoy shooting football. I love shooting the Olympics, and I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to shoot a lot of portraits of athletes in my time at Sports Illustrated. So I thought, all right, this is what I'm going to write about. You know, I mean, it's not that I don't shoot other sports, but I don't have the same passion. So that part of it was good, but the actual writing of it was a lot more work than I thought, and I ended up being about 10 months late on the book. But we got it done. There was you know, it got pretty ugly at some points, but I'm really happy with it. I didn't know. I was scared. When the copy came, I didn't open it for a week because I thought, what if I really? You know, you're in something like that, and your head is so wrapped around, you have no idea what you're doing after a while. Yeah. But when I did open it and people started opening it and looking at it, I was very happy with it, and I still am.
Well, congratulations. So then now it's time to start on the next version, right? Volume 2.
I don't know. It's like one of those things that's, you know, seems like a great idea, is incredibly painful when you're doing it, and then you sort of forget the pain. Well, I haven't quite forgotten the pain yet, so maybe another year or so.
I hear you. Okay, so it sounds kind of like childbirth then a little bit.
It was.
Put some time between the two kids.
2-year childbirth.
There you go. Well, cool. Well, congratulations again. Looks like a great book. I haven't read it all the way through yet, but I definitely will. So let's talk about. Let's just dive in and talk about sports photography in general. So before we clicked the record button on this interview, you and I were chatting a little bit about. Let's just take it from the end. A lot of amateur photographers have different ideas of what it takes to be a good sports photographer. Some people say, hey, study the sport ad nauseum and then position yourself at a certain point and camp there. That's your spot. And then if you're lucky enough to get the shot, you know, the decisive moment, then you're good. Other people say, hey, you're going to be as much of an athlete as these guys are because you're going to be running back and forth on the court. Other folks say, turn your camera around and shoot the sidelines, shoot the fans, shoot the behind the scenes, the pain, the anguish, the emotion of the sport. Where do you fall in? Is it all of that stuff, or is
I think it's exactly that. It's all of that stuff.
Okay.
I know, particularly at Sports Illustrated, every event that I go to, I have a different kind of assignment. I mean, sometimes I'll go to a football game and it's just shoot that right tackle. the whole game, or shoot. Or the worst one is shoot the defensive back who's so good, because when the DBs are that good, they never throw at him. So we used to shoot Deion Sanders, and he'd be standing out there and doing nothing for the whole game. But there are those kind of assignments. Then there's the kind where it's cover the game. We want the winning touchdown. We want all the big plays. And then there are other assignments where it's just like, it's going to be a pretty day. It's San Francisco. They're wearing red. It's good colors. It's a good matchup. Just go and make a picture.
Yeah.
So for someone who's starting out, I think knowing the sport is really crucial. And I think that there's kind of a balance of trying to take in everything, especially if it's your first one or two games, maybe not moving that much. I mean, I think a friend of mine, my former editor, Steve Fine, says if you spend all day chasing the action, you're going to spend all night chasing the picture.
Yeah.
So there's something to kind of staying in a spot, but again, it's somewhat, sports photography is unfortunately somewhat equipment dependent.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if
tell
you
me about
have,
that. So, equipment dependent. We on This Week in Photo, we talk a lot about, over the last year or so, we've been talking a lot about mirrorless cameras and downsizing, and why aren't the big guys innovating as fast as the smaller guys are? And one of the few genres of photography that it seems like it's not going away, the necessity for the big beefy camera with the long fast glass, is sports photography. Do you agree?
yeah, I do, and I mean I'm a Canon guy. I use the EOS 1DX, and it's an amazing camera. And I use long lenses. I use 400, 600s, even the 800. A lot these days I'm using the new 200 to 400 zoom from Canon, which is a great lens, and that's got the built-in extender, so it goes to 560. So that was a great lens, especially in London during the Olympics. I just carried it every day, and so you kind of need that. The good news for the sports photographer is even in the lower end, like the digital Rebels, and there are less expensive lenses now. There's 100 to 300 zooms that are very reasonably priced. So for not a lot of money, an amateur or a person who's starting out can get a pretty good kit to shoot with. So that's a good way for them to start. I think a 70 to 200 or a 70 to 300, a digital Rebel, and the other good thing is they have such the high ISO performance improves all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that really will help them out.
And then you're also, with these long lenses, obviously there's a monopod on there, right?
Monopod, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's the
always a
kit. So long
monopod.
lens, fast camera, or fast, or low light sensitivity, and a monopod, and you're equipped to go get the game.
Well, that's my number one lens. Now, the other thing I always try and do if and again, it requires a second camera, is I always like to have a camera around my neck
Mm-hmm.
with, say, a 50 or a 70 to a 24 to 70 or some sort of short range, because when that action happens right in front of you, and if you're in the right spot, it will. You're hopeless with the long glass, and you've got to just swing that to the side and grab that camera and nail it. So that's what I would say. If anybody has a second body available, I would always have that right around the neck, ready to go. Just grab it and shoot.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and that goes for lots of, it's like wedding photographers. They're long lens, short lens, so you can adapt quickly without fumbling and trying to change lenses and
Yeah,
getting
you're never
dirt
going
and
to know
dust on
what
your
you're seeing.
sensor. Yeah. So okay. So what about what about the whole? One thing I'm really curious about from a professional sports photographer standpoint, when you go to a game, of course your shoot to delete ratio increases over time. I mean, in other
Yes,
words, your keepers get better and better. You get more and more of them as you get better and better and shoot more, and yours are probably at the top end. On average, on any particular game, how much are you generally shooting? And of that crop of images, how many keepers would you say you get and consider this was a good game? I got what I came for.
I would say at an average football game, I'll shoot 2,000 or so images, 2,000 frames, maybe a little bit more. Again, it depends on the type of assignment.
Hmm.
There are a number of factors. Somewhere around 2,000. And if I get 10% of those, if I get 200 images that I think are really good, I'm very happy. That's a good day for me. I mean, camera goes 12 frames a second. You've got a lot to choose from, but at the end of the day, in every sequence, there's that one that just really is the perfect one. And so that's not to say there aren't a couple of hundred or more other okay images, but those 200 should really be the top ones.
Yeah. Now, Peter, other than your pre sort of concepted editorial shots, which are amazing, by the way, do you ever go to a game and say, you know what, in this game, I need to get LeBron doing this, and that's my goal for this game. Everything else is ancillary. I need to
Sure.
get him doing this action, and if I get that, I'm a success. You ever go in with that mindset?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's something that my editors will tell me sometimes, or I'll just know. I'll just see something that I a player's known for doing, and I will just watch for that. Another thing, particularly in an outdoor setting like a football game or soccer game in the daytime, I'll go with the light. I'll shoot the
Mhm.
light. If I can find a spot where the light is low and down the field, gets under the helmets, doesn't throw a shadow, or better yet, if there's low light and the shadow comes across, so you have that dark background, the players are lit up. I'll just sit in a spot and wait for whatever happens in that light.
Yeah, that's so you camp out, kind of like hunting, right?
Yeah, yeah. A little blind, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, hunting for pixels. Cool. So what about post processing? Once you're at the game, you've planned it, you got the shots, presumably that you want. You got those 2,000 shots on your CF cards, and you're back in your office there. What happens at that point?
Well, I'm kind of lucky in that regard. But Sports Illustrated, they still want to see everything, and they do all the editing back in the office in New York. So we have a proprietary program on a laptop that basically I just feed it cards, and what it does, we always shoot raw, Sports
Mhm.
Illustrated,
Mhm.
so you have the most capability to work with the images. So this program will strip a JPEG out of the raw and send a very small JPEG and get that transmission going quickly.
Mhm.
Then the editors in New York will go through that take of JPEGs. They'll mark their selects, and then automatically, as long as my laptop is online, the program will come back and fetch the RAWs that it needs and transmit it.
That's
So
great.
instead of transmitting 2,000 RAWs, even if you have fast internet, can take a long, long time. But I'm just shooting a bunch of very small JPEGs, and then they're pulling the 100 or so or 200 RAWs that they really want for their files and for the magazine.
So no post processing on your side, no digital manipulation, which
No,
we've seen.
no.
You can't do that. We've seen, and I wanted to have you comment on that on the show a couple of weeks ago. We had can't remember the name of the photographer, but there was this controversy where the photographer, as a sports photographer, submitted an image that of it was a baseball game, I believe it was, and it was the game-winning home run or something, and they missed it. The photographer missed the shot, so instead of this, right? So instead of you know owning up to it and saying I missed a shot, they substituted a shot from a different game in there. Could you comment on that? What do you think about it?
That's totally that's wrong. That's really wrong. And at Sports Illustrated, we do not mess with the action pictures. We don't move balls. We don't move players. We don't take stuff out. Now our portraits a different matter. Like every magazine now, we'll switch heads around and port group shots and things like that. We'll do a lot in portraits. But action is action. News is news, and you don't mess with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's photojournalism, right? And by
Yes.
definition, you're telling the story, and when you start moving pixels in there, it's editorial at
Yeah.
that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Okay, so final tips on your. Actually, back to the post processing. I had a note here to sort of continue that. So on the post processing side, on Sports Illustrated, you guys have proprietary software. You feed it cards, goes up to them. The minions over at Sports Illustrated take the files and do the rest with it. What about your other work, the editorial work? Are you doing that yourself, the post on that, or do you have a team
Yeah,
for that?
I'll use Photo Mechanic
Okay.
mainly, and then I'll bring Photo Mechanic. I'll bring the images basically right into Photoshop if they need some work. I haven't. I'm not that good in Lightroom,
Hmm.
so I'd like to be. I've taken Seth Resnick's course. I
Hmm.
need to take it again. But Mechanic is great for just manipulating the images, keeping track, seeing what you've got, and then what I really need to work on, I'll do in Photoshop.
Love it. I love it. See the pure photographer. It's about getting the shot, and then the rest is like, I'll figure it out later. But I got to get the
Yeah.
shot. Got to get the ne- get the light on the negative, so to speak. Right
Yes.
now, okay. So the final tips here on for photographers that again that photographer that's sitting there and he's like, I want to get into the sports stuff. I'm a sports fan. I want to shoot, but the gear is so expensive. I don't know how to do it. I don't even, am I allowed on the field? I just want to start, but I don't know where to start. I know you're going to say go get this book, but aside
And then
aside from getting the book,
one of my workshops.
oh, I didn't know you had workshops as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got one coming up in Denver. I've been doing Denver for 12 years now, April 7th through the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've done a fall workshop in Atlanta. I have a couple of other projects kind of in the hopper, a Canon Live Learning Workshop in the Bay Area in June, and we're just trying to put together something in Hawaii with the University of Hawaii. So, but the Denver workshop is kind of my oldest one, and that's a week long. We'll start on a Monday night, have a meet and greet, I'll show some pictures, and then usually, just as an example, Denver will do like mountain biking one day, we'll do high school lacrosse another day. I always like to find some wacky indoor thing, so we've been doing fencing the last few years.
Oh, cool.
Pick up a tennis, soccer, and then on Saturday we do the University of Colorado spring football scrimmage. So even though it's spring, get some real football in a real stadium.
Yeah.
They have a track meet that day. We shoot portraits at a boxing gym. So it's a lot of shooting. Everybody edits at night or early in the morning. Then in the morning we have a critique. I have different people. I have Sil Arena come in for a couple of days. You know Sil, talk about speed lights, because I know nothing about speed lights, so Sil does that. Yep. Steve Fine, who used to be director of photography at SI, comes in. He's now working at Flipboard, the new that source. So he talks about what he's doing, and he's obviously a great eye for pictures. And then this year I'm going to have Garrett Elwood, who's the Denver Nuggets and Rapids, MLS Rapids photographer, and he's going to talk about arena lighting, and we're going to set up. There's a great little gym at Denver East High School. We're going to set up some lights and shoot some basketball.
Very cool. So it's a week long event.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And what are we looking at price wise, and how many students, co-students, or how many people do you allow into the course?
I allow 20 in, and I think we've got 2 or 3 spots left if anybody's interested. Price is $18.95 for the week. And
wow, that's easy. $20? That's like a couple lattes.
Gotcha. All the information is on my website, peterreedmiller.com. Just go to the workshop page. There's info, there's a video, there's a schedule, and there's a link to register. So anybody's interested, check that out. And then, again, I have a mailing list. If they want to sign up for that, then I will keep them apprised of the future workshops in the schedule.
Excellent, Peter. Thanks for doing this interview. I appreciate it. I think I and the listeners probably have got a lot out of this. It's educational. Sports photography has always been one of those genres of photography that's intimidating because not only you have to know the sport, but
it's fun.
It is fun, but it's fun, but there's no models in there. No. Oh, see, that was good. So speaking of models, the Sports Illustrated model issue, any involvement in that?
Asked question. I've never done work on the actual the issue itself. I've done work. We had an amateur contest a couple of years ago where a girl got selected, and I shot all of that. That was a lot of fun. But it's really a production into itself now, and most of the shooters are basically fashion guys, and they do a great job. They do a wonderful job. But it's a different ball of wax there.
It's a different world. Cool. Well, Peter, thanks a lot. I'll let you get on with your day. Again, An honor speaking with you. I really respect what you've done. Congratulations on the book, and much success with it. And I'm looking forward to reading Volume 2 when you put this out in a couple of weeks, right?
I can't say I'm looking forward to writing it yet, but give me time. Okay. Thanks for having me, Frederick.
You're welcome. You have a good day, Peter.
You too.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that interview. And if you're looking for ways to get excited and inspired about your photography, we've put together some really cool resources for you to download and check out. And you can find those over at thisweekinphoto.com/inspiration. These resources will help you sort of get a kick in the pants to get out there and shoot and kind of understand what it is you should be shooting or what it is you want to shoot when you go outside and you pull that camera out. Once again, that's at thisweekinphoto.com/inspiration.